This is the all-new Isuzu Mu-X, and it's now on its second generation. The Isuzu Mu-X has always been a favorite among Filipino buyers, but over the years, it started losing its popularity amid stiffer, much newer competition. Pero at this point, we finally have an all-new model. And so, how does it fare against the competition? Magsimula muna tayo sa kanyang panlabas. Because after all, first impressions do certainly last. And with the Isuzu Mu-X, mas mukha siyang elegante at modern ngayon. With its more rounded edges, striking character lines, and it has a more modern and sexier front end compared to the previous model's upright and truck-like appearance. And as a result, it looks more crossover-like compared to the previous generation model. With this top trim LS-E variant that we have here, it looks much more like an on-road focused vehicle due to its sleek 20-inch alloy wheels and low-profile highway terrain tires, which pays dividends to its ride comfort but not so much in off-road capability. Though let's be honest, most people who buy these SUVs don't even take these cars off-road, and so that's probably for the better. Overall, mas modern and gwapo tingnan ng Isuzu Mu-X ngayon, though yung kanyang design isn't breaking any grounds, and is therefore just a time-appropriate design for the here and now. And this is unlike the Mitsubishi Montero Sport and Toyota Fortuner, which were able to push the boundaries of design when those two cars were unveiled a few years back. And so at this point, dumako naman tayo sa kanyang interior. So now that we're here inside the all-new Isuzu Mu-X, it's completely new from the ground up. I mean, yung interior niya, so the dashboard is completely new. Well, if you're coming from the all-new Isuzu D-Max na pickup truck, the interior is gonna feel familiar because it's exactly the same as the D-Max, no? Pinagkaiba lang nila is, in the case of the LS-E version ng D-Max, you have brown leatherette surfaces at doors and dash, and then you have brown leather seats. But here in the Mu-X, you have a black interior. Sa totoo lang, I think medyo mismatch pa nga yung interior scheme nila. I think the Mu-X deserves the brown interior more compared to the D-Max, since it's a more utilitarian vehicle, no, as being a pickup truck. But I mean, yeah, there's a bit of soft touch leatherette nga dito sa ibabaw ng dash niya, but the doors, puro pa rin hard plastics yung doors and lower dash. But it's pretty much expected for the mid-size body on frame or the pickup-based PPV SUV segment, no, like the Fortuner, Everest, Montero Sport. Sa totoo lang, may benchmark here sa segment in terms of interior quality would be the Sangyong Muso, if you're familiar with that SUV, which you can click up here if you want to see the review of that body on frame SUV, no. Left field choice, it's probably from a brand you've never heard of, but yeah, impressive car for me. Anyway, the interior is logically laid out. I like the piano style keys or buttons sa kanyang climate control. I also like the Isuzu Mu-X's driving position, no. Usually with PPVs, medyo hindi ko masyadong gusto yung kanilang driving position since not exactly all of the competitors offer telescopic steering, but here in the Mu-X, meron siyang telescopic steering adjustment, no? So you can adjust it for both reach and rake. That's pretty good. I also like the seats. The seats are really comfortable. They're one of my favorite seats sa segment na ito, apart from the Nissan Terra's zero gravity seats. I like the shoulder support here. There's plenty of support here basically sa seats, especially on long drives. Other parts of the cabin, there's also leatherette dito sa kanyang lower dash. And let's also now talk about the car's infotainment system, which I'm not exactly a fan of. I mean, okay, in terms of usability, okay naman siya, because okay yung touch response, but in terms of functionality, that's where a locally sourced infotainment system starts to go down, no, compared to yung functionality ng mga OEM infotainment system. Like in its twin, its mechanical twin, the Mazda BT50, that car didn't have a third-party infotainment from a local supplier. It still uses the Mazda or Isuzu factory infotainment system, which gives you a better user interface. Bigger doesn't mean better. That car has a smaller touchscreen. Okay, usable naman siya, but you know, not exactly the most elegant solution in offering an infotainment system. Ang argument ng Isuzu is that this has offline navigation, which the factory infotainment system doesn't have. But yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people pa rin kahit sa probinsya use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in their cars na rin. And they'd rather use Waze compared to offline navigation. Though I would like to commend the car's 8-speaker sound system, no, because for a non-branded sound system, it sounds really good actually. Maybe not as good or as punchy as the Bose sound system ng Nissan Terra or the JBL sound system ng Toyota Fortuner LTD variant, but for non-branded sound systems, it's actually pretty good. Yung kind of 8-speaker sound system. And that leads me to the car's rear seats. So now that we're in the back seat of the Isuzu Mu-X, there's a good amount of space for my 5'10", 5'11", depende sa measuring accuracy, no, height. And I have good amounts of legroom. Headroom's also pretty good. There's a generous amount of headroom dito, so doesn't actually mess up my hair, no. So yeah, there's actually plenty of space here for tall adults like me. Yun nga lang, the seats don't move forward or backward, no. So yun nga lang, that's your compromise with the Isuzu Mu-X unlike its competitors. So if you want more legroom or more legroom for the rear seat passengers sa third row, they don't have that flexibility. But I think the compromise is okay, even though it doesn't slide forward or backward. I'm okay with it since yun nga, legroom's okay, headroom's okay. It's also wide enough to fit 3 people. So compared to the Mitsubishi Montero Sport, which I find a bit too narrow. You also have cup holders here. I like how damp the cup holders are. And you have a 220-volt outlet and 2 rear USB ports, both of which are fast charging. So again, on a long journey, even if you're using a laptop, makakapag-charge ka rito. You also have a hook here, which again, on a long journey is very flexible. So kung may snacks here or basurahan, you can actually hang it here. And yeah, that's pretty much it sa kanang second row. I like the second row seats of the Isuzu Mu-X. And before I forget, you also have aircon controls here. Hindi siya automatic climate controls, but that's pretty much expected for this class of vehicles. And then now, as for the space sa kanang third row seats, it's actually not easy to tumble the seats forward. Just one lever. And I am actually surprisingly able to fit here. Again, I'm 5'10", 5'11", depende sa accuracy ng measuring tool sa aking height. But yeah, I mean, this second row seat is reclined to at least my ideal inclination sa kanyang, for me to be comfortable. Babaran natin to. And I'm actually comfortable in the third row. I'm not even kidding. Usually with PPVs, ang issue ko is that the floor is too high sa third row, so you end up having this position na the seats are too low and your knees are too high. But here, I'm not even kidding. Look ko. Ito yung legroom ko. Headroom ko is actually pretty good. So my hair is touching the headlining, but again, that's in the middle. But if I'm here on the sides, it's actually really good. I think the Mu-X is one of the best in terms of third row accommodation, no? I don't like the Fortuna's third row. I also don't like the Montero's third row. But here in the Mu-X, it's actually exceptionally good for a tall adult like me. You have cup holders on both sides. There's plenty of storage at least for the third row passengers. And you can also recline the seats. Itong third row niya, hindi ko abot, pero yeah. The point is I can recline the third row seats for more comfort. Good job on that aspect for having a good third row dito sa Isuzu Mu-X. I like it. And I'm not even kidding when I say the part na I'm actually comfortable going to at least to Alabang from Laguna here in the third row of the Isuzu Mu-X. Really good.
Trunk space for the Isuzu Mu-X is actually pretty good. With the third row seats in place, you are provided with 311 liters of space, which is actually on the larger end of the PPV segment. And when you fold the third row seats down, you have more than 1100 liters of space, which again is likewise on the larger end of the class. And when you fold all the seats down, this increases to more than 2100 liters. And this makes the Isuzu Mu-X one of the best in terms of cargo carrying capability. 2 engine choices are available for the Isuzu Mu-X, both of which are of course turbo diesels. The range kicks off with the 1.9-liter engine, which powers the base LS and the mid-spec LS-A manual variant. And then there's also a 3-liter engine, which you can also get in the LS-A variant and the top-spec LS-E. And if you want the benefit of 4-wheel drive, you can only get it as an option on the top trim LS-E variant. And with all of these powertrain specs out of the way,
how does the all-new Isuzu Mu-X actually feel like on the road? So starting off with the Isuzu Mu-X sa kanyang driving dynamics here out on an open highway, it's actually a pretty good SUV in terms of long distance travel comfort. No, I like the seats, by the way. These are one of the best seats for me in the mid-size body on frame PPV SUV segment thing. It's one of my favorites along Nissan's zero gravity seats. They're really comfortable on long drives. So out here in high speeds, the Isuzu Mu-X performs really well. So the car feels stable, the car feels refined, there's not a lot of wind and road noise, and the engine also stays at a low RPM. So despite just having 6 gears as opposed to the Ford Everest 10-speed automatic, no, itong kanyang transmission still manages to make the engine or keep the engine at a low RPM. So yun nga, the engine still feels very chill, ang relax niya on highways, and dahil nga mababa RPM niya, edi okay, that also pays dividends to the car's fuel economy, and that's one of the factors why the Isuzu Mu-X is very fuel efficient for a car with a 3-liter diesel engine. The car feels stable at high speeds, the steering feels really good. Okay, so sportiness-wise, hindi siya kasing ganda, for example, ng let's say a Mazda CX-8 or a Mazda CX-5, like those unibody SUVs. Pero still, for a body-on-frame SUV, it performs really well in terms of handling and ride comfort. And I guess the only thing sa kanang refinement that, I guess what I would say na may kailangan ng improvement would be engine noise. Kasi yun nga lang, medyo rinig mo pa rin yung engine, especially if you're overtaking. But yeah, it's actually pretty good. I don't think that Mu-X is as quiet or as refined as the Nissan Terra or the Ford Everest, but it's actually pretty good pa rin. I mean, it's still on the better end, I guess, of the body-on-frame SUV segment in terms of refinement. Ride's also pretty good. Magandang ride quality niya as you go through bumps, and the car feels stable. The car's ride control is really good. Hindi siya yung matagtag compared to, okay, may talbog pa rin siya, that's inherent on body-on-frame SUVs, pero maganda siya. It's pretty good, and that's despite the fact that this SUV is riding on 20-inch wheels with highway terrain tires, no. So of course, in terms of road noise, as okay ang highway terrain tires as opposed to all-terrain tires, but yung 20-inch wheels niya will of course affect ride quality. Pero as far as ride quality is concerned, it's actually pretty good ang itong Isuzu Mu-X na to. So yung itong class of vehicles na ito, itong mga body-on-frame mid-size pickup-based SUVs, they're not necessarily known for sportiness or agile handling, no? But the Isuzu Mu-X manages to be on the more agile side in terms of yung kanyang handling. So itong ipupush ko sa mga corners, itong Mu-X na to, it actually performs really good. There's not a lot of body roll, and yung kanyang 3-liter diesel engine, which is big by today's standards. So kasi usually ngayon everyone's downsizing, tas they're adding twin turbos. Like for example, yung Ford Ranger and the Ford Everest, saka twin turbo 2-liter nga lang na diesel engine, di ba? Pero in terms of horsepower, itong Mu-X isn't actually the class leader. So wala pa to sa 200 horsepower mark compared to the Ford Everest and the 2.8-liter na Toyota Fortuner. But the numbers of those engines kasi, especially talaga the Ford Everest, don't tell the whole stories, no? So with the Ford Everest kasi, yung 2-liter twin turbo diesel engine nun doesn't feel all that powerful above 3,000 RPM, which is, let's be honest, that's where you're overtaking, di ba? But in the Isuzu Mu-X, itong 3-liter diesel engine niya has such a meaty torque band na kapag overtake ka, there's still a lot of pulling power at 3,000 to 4,000 RPM, and that's important, especially if you're in a provincial road tapos gusto mong overtake ng mga other vehicles. And the 6-speed automatic that's accompanied to this engine is also a good teammate sa kanyang powertrain, no? So in terms of responsiveness, it responds well to your inputs. It also downshifts eagerly to the correct gear. Maybe not as responsive as that 6-speed automatic ng Toyota Fortuner, but it's okay, it performs well enough. And yun nga, since this engine has such a meaty torque curve, yun nga, sobrang chill ng makina, di mo feel na parang hirap siya or whatever. It feels relaxed, sa totoo lang. It's also
one of the benefits of still having a big displacement instead of a small displacement engine, since you're not dependent that much on boost ng turbo. Which means on its own, kapag hindi nakaspool up yung turbo, the engine will perform really well pa rin pagdating sa hatak niya. And another upside to that of having a big displacement diesel engine is, since hindi nga siya hirap, especially when you're driving this car nang umo-overtake sa mga provincial roads, mga ganyan. It's actually, in terms of fuel economy, it also pays dividends sa kanyang fuel economy. So, right now, I'm currently doing 11 kilometers per liter with this SUV, and that's despite me putting this SUV through its paces. Yeah, the engine really performs well. It's one of the best engines for me in this class. And Isuzu really does well in terms of diesel engines. So they really do deliver in that aspect. And then, we also have to talk about the car's handling. Yun nga, as mentioned kanina, the suspension deals with body roll pretty well. Ride is also pretty good. It's not the best in terms of ride. Mas prefer ko pa rin ng Nissan Terra. But it does offer a good compromise between handling and ride comfort. And then the steering, it's a hydraulic power steering, which means it's still on the heavy side. Not as heavy as the Toyota Fortuners and all that, pero it's actually pretty good. I guess siguro among hydraulic power steerings, it's on the lighter side of things. But compared to the electric power steering ng Ford Everest, mas magaan yun. But one upside pa rin to having a hydraulic power steering is may feedback ka pa rin from the road, so you still know what's happening to the front wheels. Talagang you can feel the road dito sa steering wheel, which is for me a good thing pa rin. I still prefer a steering that I know what's happening to the front wheels. Yun ang gusto kong steering. The brakes are also reassuringly good. They have excellent bite, so meaning it's actually a very confidence-inspiring SUV to drive kapag nasa mga twisties ka and all that.
A total of 5 variants are available for the Isuzu Mu-X, and prices start at a little under 1.6 million pesos. This 3-liter LS-E 4x2 that we have here today retails for 2.1 million pesos. And for that price, you get stuff like a powered driver's seat, leather interior, smart entry with push-button start, powered tailgate, front and rear USB ports, and Isuzu's full suite of advanced driver assistance tech, which includes automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning, full speed adaptive cruise control, blind spot warning, and rear cross traffic alert. But if you want the benefit of 4-wheel drive, the price bumps up to 2,450,000 pesos, which makes it one of the more expensive mid-size body-on-frame SUVs out there. Unfortunately, the 4-wheel drive variant doesn't come with a rear differential lock, which makes the Isuzu Mu-X the only 4-wheel drive mid-size SUV in its segment to not come with this important off-roading feature. And solely because of that, we only recommend the 2-wheel drive variants of the Isuzu Mu-X. And so with all of these said, there's no doubt that the Isuzu Mu-X makes for a good family SUV. But unfortunately, we do have a few reservations. And that's because, for an all-new generation model, the Isuzu Mu-X isn't pushing any boundaries. Instead, the Isuzu Mu-X is simply good in the here and now. But in a few years' time, we suspect that the Isuzu Mu-X will quickly feel outdated, especially once its rivals start releasing their next generation SUVs, which already began with the next generation Ford Everest. And that SUV is already pushing the boundaries of cabin tech and driver assistance features. Sure, the Isuzu Mu-X drives well, and of course, there's that Isuzu reputation for reliability. But that's also pretty much the case for its other Japanese rivals. And this makes the Isuzu Mu-X a safe, but not exactly a standout choice.